Let's say we built a vision with our elected officials. We have the right leadership. We know our process. We know where we want to go. But we don't really have something that communicates that vision out. We do have a strategy, which is fantastic, but we don't have a brand. Or if we do have a brand, we don't really understand it. So in this portion of this course, we'll talk about branding. What is an economic development brand? Well, an economic development brand is the sum of all characteristics, tangible and intangible, that make a development, city, state, or region unique. This is what people think about you. Your brand is a collection of impressions. It's not what you are, it's what people think you are. Nike's not just a shoe company. They are a transformational athletic apparel company. That is their brand. That is what people think of them. They don't just think of Nike as a shoe company when shoes make up the majority of their revenue. That's their brand. And a place brand or an economic development brand, both online and offline, carries a significant amount of weight for your community. It embodies a core set of values. It has personality traits. It tells a unique story. It creates a connection with those who engage with it. And it's the foundation of all internal and external communication. Well, that was a little bit fuzzy. So let me give you an example of a corporate brand so you can get a better understanding of how to use it for your community. One of my favorite companies of all time, as you've heard me talk about them before, is Apple. And one of the reasons Apple has done such a great job, in addition to creating a great product, is they have a great brand. Now, a lot of communities start their branding process backwards. They start with what are they going to do and how do they do it. But Apple starts with why. It's at the core of their marketing, and it's a driving force behind what they do. So to show this, imagine if Apple also started backwards by creating a message that started with what? So we make great computers. They're user-friendly, beautifully designed, and easy to use. Do you want to buy one? Here's what a real marketing from Apple might actually look like. With everything we do, we aim to change the status quo. We aim to think differently. Our products are user-friendly, beautifully designed, and easy to use. We just happen to make great computers. Do you want to buy one? Now you can see how their brand has changed all of the things that they do. But what's the point? Well, the overwhelming presence of Apple comes into everything that they do, from their share price to the products that they make, to the simplicity and the beauty in their design. So it's not just an iconic logo that makes Apple's brand. It's not just the Apple that you see. It's really how they position themselves in the market and how they communicate about their awesome product, their dedication to customers, their passion for design, their focus to build something great, and their courage to reinvent everything. That is the Apple brand. Now, no community can necessarily have Apple's brand because that's what people think of Apple. But what if people thought of your community like they think of Apple? What would you need to do to build your brand so that they thought of you like Apple? Another practical example is think of the value of a brand. What's the value of the Silicon Valley brand or the city of San Jose? Well, last year our team did some research on the value of this brand itself, this high-tech brand that is the Silicon Valley. And the value of the Silicon Valley brand was around $7 billion just on the brand itself. But it wasn't just the logo that people looked at. It was the perception of how valuable they thought it was. It's what the market was willing to pay for a particular service. Now, how can an IPA use branding to promote itself? Well, you use branding in a lot of different ways. And it can come through different creative work, but it can really be integrated with your marketing and communications plan. You can use it to create an economic development focused website. You can leverage it at industry conferences and trade shows to attract new business. You can use your brand to engage elected officials and business leaders to help sell the community. But what can you get from it? What should you expect from your branding? Well, branding will help you clarify that vision. We've talked about vision throughout this course. We've talked about goals and objectives through this course, and we've talked about messaging. What your brand helps you do is clarify those points. One of the things that a brand will also help you do is support your community and economic development department and what they're trying to accomplish on the short term. branding helps give them the tools to make that communication or that promise. And that enhanced communication will highlight your community's assets. But how would a community go about building a brand? Well, here's what one community in the Southwest region of the United States did to set up a branding campaign. The first thing that they did was research. Well, in order to build a brand about what people think about you, you have to understand what people think about you. So stakeholder research, site selector research, company research was critical in building a brand or a message. For example, this community had a piece of legislation that was really negative for it. The piece of legislation said that any police officer could walk up to any citizen in that particular community, ask for an ID to see if they were undocumented or documented as a citizen. Now that's pretty challenging for business. And what the client said was, we need to make our marketing, we need to make our brand, we need to tell everybody that we're open for business and that we're business friendly. This is going to hurt our brand. We want people of all different colors that are supporting our brand. And one of the questions that we asked was, did you do the research? Is that what the market thinks that your brand is? The answer was no, they didn't do the research. They then went back to do some research, and the market said, all things being equal, the business community didn't necessarily care about this particular piece of legislation. What they cared about was that the workforce in this community was 4 years younger than anywhere else in the country. What they cared about is that they had a research university that was keeping graduates in the community and that was tailoring their programs to meet the fit of the companies. That brand or that message would have been completely different had they not done the research. So research is the first step in developing a branding campaign. The second step is, what's the creative look like? How do you visually represent what your brand is, what your place is, what your message is? You guys may have seen a lot of ads out there, and we see roughly 2,000 every single day. And the ones that stand out are authentic to the brand or to the place. So what does that creative look like? And then what's the marketing or the campaign strategy around the brand? Finally, this community said, once we have the research, the brand, a campaign to support the brand, we're going to build a website to communicate that brand, and so everybody can find us and know more about our brand moving forward. So what are some great brands out there? One of the best ones that we've seen in Europe is Great Britain. We'll talk about this a little later, but they've done a tremendous job of incorporating that brand into everything that they do for investment promotion. Another great brand is Pure Michigan here in the States, as well as some of you may have heard I Love You New York and What Happens in Vegas. These are all brands. These are all the things that these places collect and the impressions that they have on the people that visit them and the companies that move there. But how does it look? Well, a brand can be reflected in a lot of different ways. Here you see business is great in Britain, or exporting is great in Britain and Northern Ireland. But why is it important for a community? Well, branding is important for a community because places leave lasting impressions on us. It's not necessarily the data that we've just seen. It's the data that we've collected, the research that we've understood, and the impression that that place leaves on us. Secondly, we talked about the competition that we see for investment and promotion. As competition continues to increase, differentiation is getting harder and harder to accomplish. So what the top brands are doing is positioning themselves to create that competitive advantage. Thirdly, companies locate where workforce is, and your brand is going to help attract a workforce to your community. Nashville is a growing creative community that continues to attract a great workforce. Ireland, a growing destination for businesses that continues to attract a great workforce. Why are they attracting a great workforce? Well, it's because they have a brand that's supporting it, and that has been further supported by pieces of legislation, by infrastructure, by all of the things that talent and workforce want. Lastly, having a brand gives you the tools to have a conversation about your place and to know who you are. So here's some examples of ads that support and cover branding as it relates to Great Britain. Here you can see the food is great in Great Britain, And you might say, well, Guillermo, that's not talking about business. No, it's not talking about business specifically. But what you'll see from this ad is that they're targeting and they're using a business message and talking about their culinary scene. Because me as a CEO, knowing that Britain might be a good place to relocate my company to, it's also nice to know that they have great food or that there's great things to do. So here are some examples of using advertising to not only showcase the message that they're trying to accomplish in the brand, but incorporate a tourism component as well. So community marketing plans and branding. What did we learn today? Well, we learned the elements of a community marketing plan. What are the 6 steps that you need to take away to go home and write a community marketing plan for your organization? We also learned about understanding what your community's vision was, the process involved from vision to leadership, to the approach, to milestones, to challenges. And we finally talked about how to build a brand for your community or for your organization.